I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I first entered care at 11 months, and I really didn't know I was a foster kid. Didn't know that I wasn't in the right home until I was about 6 when I returned back to my biological mother. I lived with my biological mother for about a year, and then I was re-entered into the foster care system. I was 9 when I was in the courtroom and the judge asked me if I wanted to be adopted, and everything in me wanted just to say no. I had been a foster kid all of my life. It was the thing that I had accepted. It was the thing that said, this is who you are, but I couldn't say no. And so by the age of 13, I started to have this realization that, things weren't quite normal as they should be. I started to realize that the very comments that she was making about the Black community really related to me. I had my own epiphany that I was Black. It didn't hit me until one day when I was in the bathroom and we were arguing and she called me the N-word. And it happened to be the moment I was washing my hands and I looked up and I really realized, holy crap, I am Black. When the social worker came, I just, I lied. I said, we don't get beaten. We don't have any of those issues. But we were trained, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. But the social worker also was asking me, hey, do you go outside to play? And I'm like, no. Do you get to go over a friend's house? I'm like, no, we can't do that. Oh, we're not supposed to play with certain people. And I didn't know those were things at the time that were not normal. So I'm thinking I'm doing a good job of covering up and doing exactly what my adoptive mother wanted. After the social worker left, my adoptive mother's response was, seeing that I'm smuggling you, from now on, you can't enter the house unless it is nighttime. And that's how the next 2 years started, is that I couldn't be in the house unless she needed me to babysit one of the foster babies that we would have in our care over the next 2 years. I could not be in the house. And so the first couple of days was hard because you just don't know what to do. When you've been sheltered, you don't know the people on your block, you just sit on the porch thinking like, where do I go? Me not being able to go back into the house meant that I couldn't even get something to eat right after school. So I had to go to my dance friends and my acting friends to go to their house and eat. So what I started to do was I started to record the abuse. It's really hard to prove verbal and emotional abuse. And the way she used to hit us, she would hit us on our head, she would pull our hair, so you would never see knots, you would never see bruises on us, so it was very hard to prove our case. I then finally called the system. I have the proof. I have tapes of everything that's going on. And then the system tells me, you can't use any of it because she was unaware that she was being recorded. There was no voice. You had no voice. And so there was one day where my adoptive mother and I were going back and forth, and then she said, you can leave. And it was just an epiphany moment for me. I really went upstairs and packed my bags and realized that I could leave. I could just take my stuff and just walk out the house. And that's when I called the abuse hotline. Now they ended up having me go back to her house, but from that moment on, it was as if I had been given permission to actually have a voice by her saying that I can leave. And so I always think back to Harry Potter. There's a scene in the second book, there's a slave elf, and the master gave that slave elf a sock accidentally. And that's exactly what happened in my case. It's like my adoptive mother had given me the accidental freedom to advocate for myself. I didn't end up leaving that home because of a case of any abuse. At one point, she said to me, hey, listen, I will pay $200 a month if you just don't come back to the house. And then the social worker who actually did my adoption was so torn up that it was such the wrong adoption. When we went over to my adopted home, we realized she had moved. This lady had picked up everything and everyone and just had left and sold the house. And so at this point, the system had no choice whatsoever but to take me. It's your life. You're the one who has to live with all the decisions, all the outcomes, no matter if it's your fault or not, but you're gonna have to live with those things. And so it's so important that we're a part of every decision. So that's why I got involved with my case plan, right? I wanted to tell them, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is how my life is gonna be.